Hey guys, and welcome to Monday Mornings with Michael. Today is June 6th, 2022, and while we are wishing you a happy Monday, if we have not already, let us also wish you a very happy month of June. We are, yes, in the month of June. This is our first Monday in June, which is always exciting, and we have lots and lots to do this month, and we figure you probably do too, especially with summer kind of really officially kicking off. I mean, where I'm at right now, it has felt like summer for like the last month and a half, most likely, but a lot of the other places in the country and maybe even around the world are just starting to get rid of that cold weather and are heading into some very nice months ahead of you, or maybe some very hot, sweaty, muggy months, in which case we hope that you are preparing for that and ready to go. But it is the start of a new week, which is always super exciting. And we just wanted to touch base with you and say like, hey, how was your weekend? Did you guys have any fun plans that you got accomplished or any goals that you went through and were able to complete this weekend? I know for myself, this past week, we got a hedge trimmer. So last weekend, so 2 weekends ago, I guess, now that we're in Monday, I was working at a neighbor's house doing a bunch of yard work. She had a huge hedge going down the driveway, which I cut all by hand. And from that, I was like, oh man, this would have been so cool to have a hedge trimmer. And so we actually got one for our family, and that came in last week, and I got to test it out on like an ivy wall we have in our backyard, as well as the front yard, some camellia tree, bush trees. I guess they're trees now, but they could be a bush, but trees in the front. And let me tell you, it is so cool. And it's definitely one of those things where you see how easy it has become once you have the right technology. So a lot of things in life, like you can do it the hard way, but then also there may be an easy way to do something. And that is when, I don't know, you're always asking yourself like, why didn't I do this from the start? Or would it have been better when I did it from the start? And I would say, it's not worth going back in time and wishing for things that couldn't have happened, but rather like just be super grateful for what you have now, especially when it comes to technology, being like, wow, I spent probably like 3 hours trimming by hand a whole like driveway length of hedges and bushes. And now with the right technology that we now have and that we, have at our house and in my own hands, I could have done it in probably half an hour, 20 minutes maybe. But let me tell you, those things are actually really heavy. Even though I'm sure they have made them lighter and lighter as they go, it is still a very like long and awkward thing to hold, and it's heavy by the blade, which is on like a very somewhat long extension pole that you can extend if you need to. And then it's also kind of heavy by the battery. So you've got like two hands outstretched trying to get it done. But it is very cool and feels like those fancy professional videos that, I don't know, I see them on Facebook where they show two guys like going to these rich estates and they have all these hedge trimmers to make their bushes and hedges, and the hedges they show are like probably 15-20 feet high, which are just insane. But now every time I watch that, if I see it again, I'll be like, dude, their arms right now, that left arm holding the top part near the blade, like, wow, that must be on fire right now. Anyways, though, with the chickens, because yes, I've talked about the chickens on this show and on Monday mornings, but my parents finished the chicken coop. They got it all set up. It is now in the back of our garage where they're going to be living. We also, in the last week, kind of the new part, we got stuff for their dust bath, a bin so that they could take their dust baths in, and the dust baths actually keep them clean. So prior to which you would think of putting dirt or dichotomous earth on yourself, which would be all powdery, it actually keeps away the ticks, the fleas, pests, I guess. Let's just say that. That's an easier way. Anything that would potentially hurt them or try to make lives within their own body, it will keep them off. So that's a really cool part, an interesting part about chickens that we didn't really know until we got them. It was like, oh, they clean themselves with dirt, essentially. But we also got some bedding for them, and they are slowly but surely making their way out there, where like we put them out there in the daytime, and then so far we've been keeping them back inside in their brooding box at night. But today or tomorrow we should be getting a like little bolt lock for the outside of the chicken coop, a door and a window, so two entrances just to make sure no raccoons get their little greasy paws in there and try to eat and kill our chickens, because that would be so very sad. So that is kind of the last element we need before they head outside, which we are super grateful for and like excited for and anticipating, because as they've gotten bigger, yes, they are outgrowing the little box that they started in when they were itty bitty, but with the dust baths they're taking inside, it is getting the whole room they're in, which is our office, is covered in like so much dust, like thick dust that you've ever seen. And then that same dust is also traveling all throughout our house. So like in the kitchen, you'll see dust and you're like, why is there dust here? We use this every day. And then in the dining room, in the living room, you're like, dust? What? It looks like we haven't lived there in a very long time. But it's like, no, it's these chickens. So yes, that is a part that you wouldn't really know until you have chickens inside of your house trying to grow up. But they are on their way out. So probably by next week when we're talking, they will already have been living outside for a few days. So that should be super fun. And then for myself, what I have to look forward to for this week is camping. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but it is my like summer trip that I have planned for this summer, which is actually, it came upon us so soon because it's just the second weekend of June that I'm doing it. I'm going with a friend who has never been camping, which for me and my family, like we grew up camping. Like when I was a baby, maybe even in my mom's stomach, was like we were camping. That's just what we did as a family. So it should be super fun going with someone who has never gone, just to see their experiences and what they think about it all. And though this one, so when we grew up camping, we went to kind of like the Santa Cruz, Los Gatos mountains. And that is a part with like lots of redwood trees and you're like in a forest type of a camping. Lots of trails. The place we're going is actually about 2.5 hours north from the Bay Area, near the Russian River, near, I think the biggest town is Guerneville. I think the actual campsite is in something called Duncan Mills, but it is along the Russian River, and so it'll be a bit different than the camping I'm used to. We did get like overflow tent space, like the space we have is in the overflow section, because we booked it like way late in the game, because I didn't really know that we are going to do it, and I had to see if the friend wanted to do it, and he's like, yeah, it'll work. So we're like, okay, cool, let's go and see if they have any spots left. So I think it'll be out in the sun, which will be kind of hot, but they have the river, so that'll be like the main thing we'll do on Saturday. We're going up on Friday, so we're leaving like Friday early afternoon, so we'll get there like early evening, so maybe around 4 or 5, set everything up, take a lay of the land, see what they have in store for us, and then have dinner and get ready for the next day, which will be like the full day there. They have, at least from the map, it looks like a volleyball court set up, I think a sand pit for that, a basketball court, and it's a very like family friendly place. So I think they'll actually have a lot of like activities down by the river. They should have, at least from what I've seen on their website, like paddleboard options, kayaking options. I think there is also a place to fish, which we're not bringing any fishing gear, but if we did, we could also potentially fish, and then just an area to swim in the river. So it should be super fun, and I'm just super excited for it. This week on, I think Thursday, we're going to go do the shopping for the meal prepping that we're going to do, try to make as much of it at home as we can, and then pack it all up in coolers, and we're taking his dad's truck, so we'll be headed up there on Friday through the weekend. So it should be super fun. And hopefully too, what I like about the camping and going out in nature, even though like we will have cell service and there will be Wi-Fi available, which is very like, whoa, campsites have gotten really fancy nowadays because they offer Wi-Fi. Probably not at all of them, nor in the ones with the woods. But if it's a family-friendly activity type camp style, then yeah, that probably is pretty nice. But I do like the fact that you can kind of get away for a weekend and not be on your phone all the time. Yes, I'll still have my phone and be in contact with my family, likely in the mornings or late evenings, but throughout the majority of like the day, so the main part of the day, I think it'll be super fun just to be like enjoying nature and having conversation and doing things like with your hands and reading books or playing cards or playing frisbee, you know, all of these things that like, yes, you could do at home, but do we really do those things anymore? Not so much, unless maybe you have a bunch of people over or kids over and you're like, what do I do with all these people? Then maybe that's what you do. But anyways, that is kind of updates for myself. I think it'll be really fun, and you definitely want to tune in next Monday, because that's when I'll be talking about the camping trip and letting you know how it went. Hopefully I come back. I should. I went on a water rafting trip last summer, and I think that was much more scary of like, what's going to happen? Am I going to fall out or hit my head, or, that. This should be a lot more tame, I should say. But for our company updates, we'll just talk about Fisher Philbrook Kids to start. So FP Kids, we did finish. I know you've been waiting all week to hear this. The goal we had, which was getting the digital sketches uploaded and finished for like the first draft of our children's book that we are getting going with. Our goal, which we had shared for the last couple of weeks, was to get it done in the month of May, so that in this third month of the second quarter, kind of finishing out, we could really like run forward with getting these loose ends tied up and like get things going and moving. And I would say we did finish that, so hooray, but we were 1 day late. So we actually finished all of the initial sketches on June 1st, which I can't really be upset about, because like I got it done in that same week. And it's one of those things that I mentioned, like it doesn't have like a hard deadline for like when it needs to happen, because it is still kind of somewhat abstract and up in the air for like, I want to get it done in this month. But, there's nothing like huge that is pushing me forward, where once I start getting other people involved as far as like the songs that we're going to have with it and some of the other elements, that's when, yes, like things need to be like boom, boom, boom. We are going hard, and these deadlines will be like super important. But for now, I am very excited and happy that I have that done, because then it means that we have now the text formatted and ready to go. So that shouldn't need too much changing or fixing. I did update and add in one line to one of the pages, because the initial picture I had sketched out that I wanted to have for like the page next to it, it looked too hard, and I was like, oh gosh, the characters don't even look cute when they're turned at this way, which is something weird. Like I usually, when I'm practicing characters or drawing, do like face on characters, so like you're looking at them face to face. But a lot of characters in books, like they turn and they're walking off the page, or they're walking to the side, and I was like, well, my character looks really cute if you look at the characters face to face, but once they turn sideways, I'm like, I don't know how to make them cute from the side. So that's something that maybe a true artist would know how to do, or someone who's done art a lot more. So I tried to minimize the amount of times the characters are turning or in weird angles, just because, I don't know, it doesn't look as good to me, and I want to make sure it fits the realm of the book and with the skills I have, because maybe that's something as I keep going I will get better, but also who knows. So I added something in one of the pages. I was like, we'll just add in this line so that the picture I want to draw makes sense, which also makes me think, is that what some of these illustrated books do? If they're just like, yeah, it was going in this direction, but I've already done that, drawing your character too many times, or it looks too hard, or I'm on a deadline and I'm tired of working on this, so let's just fix things up right now. Because, in this stage, no one else has really read it, and they don't really know what it is coming from. So no one's gonna know, right? Right. So from there, though, the next steps are that I actually want to either today, tomorrow, or Wednesday kind of go through and edit the sketches I have. So that is going through and re-looking at everything. I've given it a couple days where I haven't looked at anything, which I've found to be super important, and would suggest for you too, if you're working on really any projects in your life. It can be for your business, creative projects, or just something you're doing around the house, of like, spend a good amount of time on it, work hard, and then take some days off so that you can come back to it with fresh eyes, and you can rest and recover from any feelings of being tired or weary, or really just sick of the project. Which I would say, though, when I was actually working on this, the more that I spent like the dedicated time, I was actually getting excited about the project. So that was really cool, a cool thing to see too, of like, wow, this has really come together. It's coming to life. Like, things I didn't think I could draw, I think they're coming out very well. And once I get the finalizations in, it will look like I am a true artist and I know what I'm doing. So hooray for that. But the editing the sketches will be helpful, because when I do the final outlining, which is really kind of the next big step before I add the color, is that ideally I just want to change the opacity on these sketches that I have, like make it somewhat see-through, so that I can use the final pen and just directly trace over everything And doing that will have much cleaner lines. I'll likely make some small edits and changes, but it won't be anything, like huge. But if my sketches are not where they need to be, then I'll be having to spend almost double the time and like going back and like, this doesn't look right, this looks wrong, or do I need to fix this? So I'm going to cut all that out. So that is something that I can save myself from if I spend 1 to 2 days. And I give myself like the 1, 2, 3 days because ideally I would like to do it today, but do I feel like I want to do it today? No. So maybe tomorrow. So I've given myself like about 3 days to try to get it done because really it should only take about 1 day to do that. Okay, and then from moving on from there about our podcast, as of now, or last night when I was checking, getting ready for this show, we are over $2 and are at $2.20, which is very exciting. I know as we've been going, or if you've been tracking with us for, since the beginning of this, you have seen like the push and we're like, we're almost to $1. We're almost to $1. And then like, boom, already much quicker, we've gotten to the $2 mark. And that is something that we've mentioned is very helpful because we now have this show, Monday Mornings with Michael, on the podcast. So that is already helping us get like double the listens per week compared to just the one show we had. So that is super exciting, as well as I do think we are getting more listeners that are tagging on little by little. Some of the weird thing when we first hit $2, I was like, but there are no new listens on like the most recent, say like 4 episodes, which would be the last 2 weeks. But then when I went down, it's people that are either re-listening or maybe they're catching up, so they're listening. Or I know sometimes when I find a podcast, I just go through and look for the interesting titles, or I read the description. I'm like, that sounds interesting. So I'm just kind of jump around from there. So it could be that, but a lot of the listens were coming on previous episodes. So, I mean, really, it doesn't really matter because we get the monetization and small pennies thrown our way either way. But it is something that is very exciting, and I've seen kind of from these last 2 weeks that on average, and maybe this is what you're wondering when I say like they doubled. On average though, each episode in about a week gets like 8 to 10 listens, and then it doubles the second week almost. Like it almost doubles. So this podcast episode right now that you're listening to will probably have around say like 8 to 10 listens in like the following days. And then potentially like the next week after that, it may get like 1 or 2 or 3 more. The ones though that do almost double are the like business segment episodes, because those are on these broader topics that are more relatable. And I feel like even still on some of these Monday morning shows, people will be like, it's not Monday, so I'm not going to listen, or that was last week's. But I do think, excuse me, that there are benefits to listening to all of these. I don't know, it's very fun. You get insight into my own life and the things I'm doing, and hopefully it is a very progressional, like if you're looking at episodes of a show or a book, like these are the small like plot hills that are leading up to the overall big giant plot hill, which is the story of this company, Fisher Philbrick, and all that we're doing. So I think there is a lot of fun, especially if you are tuning in and listening to these each Monday, or really like you can listen to it on any day of the week, because I think there is a lot of encouragement and benefit you can get from listening to these. But I think it'll be really fun as we keep going and progress, even like next year or even just in a few months come the end of this year, to be like, whoa, it's Christmas and look where we're at now. So that is super exciting. And I would say the live episodes that we're doing are going well. Just to kind of close off this podcast segment of things, it's something that, so when we first started doing that for our weekly ones, the business segment type ones, is that we were going to have them live so that you could follow along with us, and then also put it up on YouTube. But then there was a couple problems with that. Like one, we don't get any money from doing the live video on Instagram, and no one was already tuning in, which I was grateful for the first week, because I was like, phew, like if things go wrong, all the better to not have someone there watching. So we don't get money from that though, which is the main thing. So if we teach people to follow us there, then I mean, they may have listened to it, and are they really going to re-listen to it on the podcast? No. So if we only get one chance with people, I'd rather them, and we would rather them do so on the podcast, because we will get 1 penny from them listening, which I know you're like, Oh, so you get a penny or nothing. But yes, we will take that penny, sir or madam. So that was something that now we do like a practice live video, which you can do if you ever are wanting to do a live video on your own social media, but you're like, I'm scared. There is an audience button and you can set that to private so that you can just practice all the buttons by yourself. So take that for what it is, but that is something that we're doing with that. I kind of want to test around to see, like, I think I just need to have a camera looking at me so it looks like I'm talking to someone. Like right now with the live video, I am looking at you guys if you were listening or if you're in the live video right now. And for me, that is very helpful compared to if I'm just in a studio, just looking at the microphone and a screen and seeing the little like up and downs of my voice going and then being like, oh, I think I just messed up, or I sounded weird there, or I swallowed and or needed a drink of water. You know, there's so much, but when there is a camera, it makes it much more realistic. And I think even when I've been listening back to these episodes, because yes, I will be listening right along there with you. One, because if I can throw myself a penny, like, why wouldn't you? But also because I want to learn and get better. And that's a part of doing so, is just hearing what your audience is hearing, to see like what I thought of it live as I'm talking now, and then also a playback to be like, was I doing as well as I thought, or did it come across like I was hoping it to? So those types of things are why I would listen back to it, as well as throwing myself a penny. But it is something about like being more realistic that I think is fun to listen to. And you'll notice if you start paying attention when people are talking, there are natural pauses in people's speaking and where you're stopping to think, or you take a second or two, which you're not always used to when you're listening to podcasts, especially when they are edited like to the max, which editing them to the max is not even really a bad thing, but it's where it like just go, 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 and you don't ever hear like a, so now we're moving on to this. Like one of those pauses, because it's more of like, they'll just cut that pause out because why not? And it does create a very fun like listening, because it's boom, 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 boom. But right now what we're doing, just because as we mentioned, it saves a lot on the back end time and it is more authentic, is we're doing these live ones. So for now, we're not going to be posting those videos. We do still have this one, so if you want to join us on the Monday mornings, but even that, I've been thinking like, if people are tuning into this, then I would rather them listen to it on the podcast. So I don't know what we're going to do with that. But for now, you can still see these Monday morning shows on our Instagram as well as on YouTube. So if you do want to see what I look like, my hair is actually growing out and it's starting to get curly. So take that for what it is, but we will still have those. But as we close out with kind of our overall topic, a post we shared yesterday, which we missed it last week. It was something that I was like, oh, okay, every Sunday we should post sort of like an encouragement phrase, or, you know, something that really makes you stop, read it, and think about it. And that was something that I didn't remember until last Monday morning, where I was like, oh, we didn't post anything. And that was because I was doing yard work for like the entire afternoon into the evening before taking a shower and making dinner. So I didn't actually even have time to pull out my work stuff or my computer. But this week we actually did, and it is around the idea of really like celebrating your victories, no matter how big or small they are. And that was something that, you know, a lot of these will resonate with what I'm learning myself in this business as we go and as we grow as a business. But I think that is something that is also very relatable to yourself if you have a business or a family, or are learning something new, a new skill, a hobby, something, you know, with chickens, you know, like maybe that is like a big thing for you, or, you know, you're just getting started out with something, whether it's, you know, in your business, with a relationship, or even personally. Like they don't have to be things that other people know, but realizing that you don't need to compare yourself to other people or other businesses, and really you shouldn't, because it is always so much easier to look at someone else and be like, wow, look at them, look at their life, look at how easy they have it, look at this. And really, do you know anything about that person? I mean, like inside their brain, what they're thinking, what they're going through, what their life is right now? No, you do not. And even if it is good and they tell you like life is good, one, they may just be lying, or they've gotten so used to like that's just what you say when someone asks, how are you doing? Or they're not saying like, yes, life is good right now, but I had like a good 2 to 3 years where like my business was not doing well and it felt like it was going down or going under, and I had to work so hard and was up super late and got up early, like early, So you don't know what it has taken to get there, and really so many other reasons. So instead of like looking at the other people, I just thought it's so important to be reminded like, hey, look at what you're doing yourself and really figure out like what are the accomplishments you're doing, your forward movements. These victories can be many different things, and that's why when we say like no matter how big or small is like, for say the podcast, like each penny and each listen or each new listener that we get is a small victory. And like, yes, we have more people that are tuning in and that are engaging. And then maybe a big victory will be like as we launch Fisher Philbrook Kids, especially this illustrated book, like, whoa, oh my gosh, that was such a big victory. Like, whoa. Even a bigger one will be if we can get the songs, because I have not done that as far as working remotely with a singer where we would like potentially send them a microphone, and then I'm still trying to find like the music producer to do all of that stuff. So to me, that's a little more like, oh goodness. But say like a small victory is, hey, we got a female singer like on board to be with us. Yes, hooray, that is so exciting. So even though we don't have her voice singing on the tracks that we've made so far or that will be made, we can still be excited for that. And I think that is a big part of, as you're celebrating these victories, even the small ones, and more importantly the small ones, because those lead to the bigger ones, is that it really does fuel you to keep going, to stay excited and in that mode of like, we're learning. Every day is a chance to learn something new and to really use the potential you have within you and to just keep going. So that is something that I wanted to make sure we mentioned on this show. We have the post on our social media pages, so you can check it out there. But we hope as you get ready to start off this week, that is something that you can just have in the forefront of your mind as you get going, really being aware of the things you're accomplishing day to day, which is also why we would suggest you make lists for what you want to get done today and this week, because that will be an even better way to track what those accomplishments are, those forward movements. Like with the chickens, it's been a gradual, like each week we get something else done to get them to where they can go outside. And then eventually they're gonna, around like, I think 6 months, have eggs. So like, whoa, that will be so exciting, an accomplishment of like, we raised these little things from a week and a half old and saw them as fluffy little babies to now maturing hens and chickens. They're no longer chicks, they are our chickens, which is kind of sad because it's fun to say the word chick. But those things that you can just take with you as you go throughout your life will be so helpful and just a way to encourage yourself and keep you going. So as we close, let us just say we wish you a very happy Monday, or maybe it's a different day of the week. So wherever you are right now, we hope that your day is off to a great start, will be going great, and always remember that having a positive and optimistic mindset really will get you so far in life and in your day, and that if the day isn't going good, hey, stop that right there, break off that part of the day and get going in a new part of the day that can be as good as you want it to be and as it should be. So with that, we are signing off, and we will talk to you again later this week. Have a great day.